Yeah, of course. If anyone is going to participate, though, we have to remember that if you're going to turn on your camera, this is being recorded and it will be published publicly on YouTube and may be included in other digital and print media by the Regional English Language Office, the U.S. Embassy in Lima, and the U.S. Department of State in order to promote exchange programs and public diplomacy efforts. If you don't want to appear in a recording, of course, keep your cameras off and your audio shut down. So you can still ask and answer questions. We are going to look at the chat from time to time. I will be collecting all of your questions. My name is Estefania. Sorry, I didn't say my name in the beginning. So anything that you want to say or to do, just write it, and I'll be collecting it. And Lucia will be also watching over the chat. So cool. And now that I think we can start. What do you think?
Yeah. Sure. Yes, of course.
So for people who are watching, let me introduce you to Lucia Pin. She is an EFL teacher, an educator, a mentor, and course designer at Alianza Cultural in Uruguay with the United States. She holds a diploma in educational management, and she will be joining us today to explain us a little bit more graphic design for teachers. So thank you very much. Thank you for sharing with us your experience.
My pleasure.
Let's just start.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Estefania, for the introduction, and thank you everybody for being here today on a Saturday afternoon. As Estefania said, as you can see, my name is Lucia Pin, and I am really happy to be sharing this presentation with you. Before I start, I want to thank Rilo in Andes and Change and everybody who has made this conference possible and who has helped us in the process of preparing, Rachel, Christina, and Jota for organizing the event. I think that it's great that we teachers can have the chance to be connected with each other and share best practices through this virtual conference. And also I'm really grateful for working at the Alianza Cultural Uruguay Estados Unidos, since I have always been supported in order to keep on going with my professional development. So I thank you very much. And remember that you can download the handout for the presentation, so it will be great. Maybe you can have it. You have it there pinned on the chat. Rachel share it. So in case you want to take a look at things, you can later. You can do it. Okay, so let's get started. I want to show you some designs, and I would like to hear from you on the chat. Which one do you like better? I have this one, or maybe this one. The first one or the second, which one do you like better? Let me go back, this one or this one? Yes, you can double check, you can double click to see the presentation link. Let me show you another one, the second, yes. I agree. I have another one. Do you like this one better or this one? I guess that you're checking them. And the second, definitely, the second one. I completely agree with you, ladies. And one more. What about this one? Sorry, this one or this one, the second one? So what I wanted to share with you are two different ways in which you can have a presentation and how to make it look more interesting and more appealing to students, okay? So we're gonna talk a little bit about design today, so I wanna hear from you. So I'll be asking you to please go to menti.com and enter the code that you can see over there. Or you can also scan the QR code in order to be able to access the Menti. So whichever works for you, you can do it. I'll wait a few minutes so that you can access the Menti. Menti.com, and you have the code, or you can scan the QR code. So I'll be sharing the Menti now with you.
I copied it on the chat, so you can just select it, copy paste it on Menti. Just
thank you. first question that I have for you today. Have you ever had to create materials for your students? And I would like to see your answers. So far we have 6 people connected. Most people is saying yes, so that's great. One person said no. Okay, good. Yes, but I have spent hours and hours. Yes, Paulina, it can take a lot of time. Hopefully today you'll be able, I mean, you won't be able to spend less hours, but I hope that you will be able to make the most of those hours. So most people have to create materials for your students. Well, great. So let me change to the next question, which is how much attention do you pay to the aesthetics of the materials that you design? So most people have said a lot. Some people have said some. And so far, we don't have any, not much. 50-50, yes. It depends on the time, how much time you have, which I know. Okay. Okay, thank you. So it's great that you pay attention to the aesthetics of the materials you design. I really like that. So let me go back to my presentation. And now I'll ask you again to share on the chat, what materials do you usually design? So tell me on the chat. Of course, that it could be any kind of materials, but what materials do you usually design for your classes? You can tell me a little bit also on the chat, and I'll read you. Grammar reels, PPTs, yes. Now teachers were creating or designing more presentations than ever. Flashcards, great, PowerPoints, of course. So here I have put together a list of materials that we teachers design: PowerPoint slides, flashcards, vocabulary exercises, slides, great. So these are all the things that we are designing, that currently teachers are designing, which are many. Yes, as you can see, whiteboards, worksheets, slides, posters, flashcards, games, diagrams, charts, tests. So we design many materials for our students. And now, especially with virtual classes, the materials that we create, that we design, carry more importance than they did before. So it's important that the materials that we design are clear, because now we are transmitting a lot through images and through our screens. Lexical cards, yes. Perfect. Okay, so I want to tell you a little bit about a phrase that is called less is more. It's by an architect that is called Mies. And maybe you have heard this phrase, and this phrase is associated a lot with an architect, as I told you, who was the founder of modern architecture and who suggested that design had to be simple in order to be effective. He thought that the simplicity and clarity led to good design. I have a background in architecture, something I haven't told you. So this is one of the reasons why I chose this quote to share with you, and the topic as well a little bit. And another thing that I wanted to share with you is something that is very strong, which is an essay that is called Ornament and Crime. Again, another modernist architect, Loss. And again, he criticized ornament because he thought that it was completely useless. So these are very strong statements. So our agenda for today, we're going to be talking about why should teachers care about design, the essentials of graphic design, some useful resources, and some samples that hopefully can help you see what a good design should look like, and hopefully will get you inspired as well. So some popular designs a long time, and the reason why these designs have been popular is that graphic design has been thought to be a tool to communicate and transmit, messages. And the message can be an emotion, can be a social conception, can be something related to identity, popularity, or even the desire to do something or to be somewhere or to have something. And until the 1960s, navigating in the New York City subway system meant chaos. It was super confusing for users, and this resulted in a flawed user experience. And the designer, Massimo Vignelli, he created a design that was clear and easy for people to understand where they were. And through the simple numbers and letters in colored circles, he helped to unify this chaos and to transform the experience into something that people could be able to manage themselves inside the subway. Also, a design by Vignelli is Bloomingdale's the iconic big brown bag, and the simple and curved fonts and letters. This became like an instant and iconic symbol of elegance and chic and style. Also, Milton Glaser, who was the creator of the iconic New York with the heart and logos for Target, also, and designs and the posters for musician Bob Dylan. He transformed what it meant to create a powerful and a timeless design. And lastly, I guess, a logo that you can all probably recognize is the logo of Apple, which is thought to be a testament to simplicity and longevity. And the designer, Rob Janoff, he said that if you have a computer named after a piece of fruit, maybe the image should look like a piece of fruit, so as simple as that. So we can see that logos and graphic design can transmit a lot. And I guess that if you all see the icon, the logo, for Apple, we can find it. The last one is the one that they are using nowadays, as something simple and clear that transmits the effectiveness of their technology. And I started with some of the popular designs, and I want to continue with some design fails. As we can see here, the order of elements, the use of colors and composition resulted into some very poor decisions and confusing messages. So this is something that people should care. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about the power of visuals, of images. This shouldn't be anything new to teachers, to us, but I think that it's important that we talk about it. Our brains process visual content in an incredibly high speed. So information is transmitted 60,000 times faster than text in visuals. So the visual stimuli that people get is an essential source of information. Text-based communications happen only way before, so it has only been around for a few thousand years, and visual content is more natural for us and intuitive for us humans. The use of visual content, again, nothing new, has proven to have a profound effect on our brain's ability to learn, process new information, and a combination of words and pictures has proven and time and again to be a more effective teaching tool than just words. Text-based instruction with graphic improve students' performance on a test, approximately at around 89%. So usually students did better when they had a test that wasn't text only, that was a combination of text and visuals together. And another thing that we need to consider is that color can play a very strong role in memory too. Scientists have observed a significant improvement in memory recognition. And when they study participants who are presented with images with black and white images or color images, people were able to understand things better. So the notion that words do not transmit as much as a powerful message as words do together with pictures or images, it has been applied widely among educational specialists. And we are living in an age of social media, big data, uninterrupted global internet access. So that means that people now are taking in more data than ever before. So content, visual content is a unique way to help us through this process of learning. And human eyes, something important to share with you, an interesting fact is that human eyes can register as a stunning 36,000 visual messages per hour, which is not compared, of course, to what we would be able to read. For example, imagine reading 36,000 words per hour. That would be impossible. So the challenge is to be able to transmit powerful messages through images. The bottom line, yes, is that visuals communicate much more and much faster than text. And we humans, as we said, we are visually wired, and the effect that can have on our brain and the ability to learn and process new information, it's way more important. And more than 80% of the information that our brains are processing nowadays is visual. So that means that you should be able to present your students with visual content and give them something that their brains can process faster. I came across this great graphic about the London Underground. It's quite similar to the New York subway, which is connected to the fact that you can have a real map, and it can be super confusing for people to be able to understand and get through the subway. So graphic resources in this case, and through the use of simpler lines and shapes, they were able to provide a more powerful message and also to help people better understand how to move around the subway. So designing materials, yes. Liliana Costa, she presents some points that we should consider when we design materials. She states that clarity, aesthetics, and the neatness are three features that help materials to be appealing to the eye, legible, and understandable. Designers can achieve this by observing the following, by combining, as we said, images and text, but avoiding the excessive use of text and images. We're going to be talking a little bit about how to use images and where to put images in our designs. Presenting the information in a clear, standard, and labeled way. We're going to be talking about organizing composition, but of course it can be by using bullet points, charts, fonts. Using clear and succinct language in text, that's something important. We're going to be talking a little bit about the use of fonts, using appropriate colors that can help learners identify main ideas and to discriminate against different kinds of information. Having icons that can help learners to visualize and recall information. And lastly, choosing clear images and graphics, multimedia for specific and well-defined purposes. And we're going to be talking a little bit about the power that images can have in our materials. So with images aid with comprehension, no news to us, to teachers, then my question to you would be, would you show this to your students? I'm hoping for a no there, but it would be great if you can really care and pay attention to how you transmit a message to your students. So let's get started with the details. We're going to first start talking a little bit about composition. So hierarchy and emphasis, it's related to organizing and to make sure that we create a direction in a design that it helps to give order to the elements that you have. Typography, which is fonts and the kinds of fonts that we use when we create. These are the vehicle for the message to be sent. And if the typography is appropriate, the message will get through better to our students. We're going to talk about what negative and white space is, which is the intentional empty space that we leave in our design so that they can give relevance to our designs and that they can create forms. And I have seen some teachers that suffer from horror backway, meaning they want to have slides full of text and things and pictures. We're going to talk a little bit about that and the effect that it can have. We're going to talk about alignment, which is the way that different elements in a design are arranged, usually in relation to page or document. And we want to create order with alignment. Contrast is another important tool, which is the arrangement of opposite elements on a page. In other words, things that are different. This could be black and white picture versus a color picture, or dark colors versus light colors. So the contrast can be used to create areas of visual interest or drama even in a design. And lastly, balance, which is the equal distribution of the visual weight inside a design. More specifically, how much attention do you give to a specific element on a design. So here again, we're gonna, my presentation has a lot of visuals, so I hope that you can be able to identify things. So as you can see on this slide, the most visual dominant feature in a design should be the most important part of the message. So you can use color or scale to see how hierarchy can change and the different power that you can give to the different elements and which ones are the ones that get the viewer's attention first. Also, as I told you, white space, it's key. You can create a fluid design by having words with white space around so that elements have room to breathe. The application of space around boxes, images, and other graphic elements makes a design easy to read. And it's also more likely, of course, that you can get the attention of the person who is reading your design, who is looking at your design, than if you have like a cluttered composition with a lot of elements all together. And white space, it's the area between and around elements, but it's not necessarily white. It can be any color, actually. It's just called white space. So my suggestion is that you keep white spaces to make your materials easy to read and to comprehend by your students. So I told you a bit about alignment first. As we said, it's the way in which the different elements in a design are arranged, usually in relation to a page or a document. And it's very easy to notice when elements are not aligned, or at least for me, it's quite easy to identify. You can see over here on this slide the balance versus the tension. So you can find any way that works for you, but I would go for a balance design. And there's no need for you to guess when it comes to alignment. You can use grids and guidelines to organize your materials. For example, Google Slides and PowerPoint, they have the ruler in which you can set different guidelines to help you distribute elements. And Google Slides also has a possibility to automatically organize content in your slides. So, which is, for me, amazing. We're gonna be talking about scale and proportion now. This refers to the size of objects in relations to another object. And as you can see, two elements of the same size can be seen as being equal, whereas elements with a clear variation in size tend to be seen as different. When you put together a design, think about how you can use a space to help you convey meaning, to help you illustrate the meaning behind the image. Take, for example, the bigger squares appear to be more influential and important than the smaller ones. So you can even say that the smaller square may be a little bit timid or shy even. So in the first composition, all four elements are given the same importance. In the other two, as we change scales and proportions, the squares, they have different relevance. Let me tell you a little bit about contrast now. Contrast is one of the most imperative parts of design for mood and to be able to make your design stand out. You can use a contrasting palette. We're going to be talking about colors, but you can also contrast fonts or graphics or pictures. You can use photo filters if you want to enhance the positive and negative space in an image. But a good rule of thumb is that if you have a light color background, then you should use a dark color font, or vice versa. We're going to talk a lot about that color contrast as well. Margins, another key issue that we tend not to pay attention to. What are these? This is a concept that comes from paper design. However, we can apply this into virtual designs or digital designs, but they can help give relevance to whatever elements you have inside your space. The margin is the blank space that you have on the edges of the paper, or in this case, the slides, and they can ensure that everything sits properly and comfortably in the document. And it's always best to keep the same margins in the same design as you continue. Well, I'm gonna give you a crash course on fonts. For example, here you might have seen some of these examples when reading something that it's easier to read and nicer, that is more attractive. Well, why does this happen? This happens because this typography refers to things. Firstly, to the style and the appearance of the printed words. And second, and most importantly, refers to the art of arranging the letters to make it readable, legible, and attractive and engaging for your, in this case, for your students. And fonts can transmit uses, but they can transmit personality, identity, qualities. As you can see, serif fonts transmit tradition, respect, comfort. Sans serif fonts are more stable, modern. Script fonts, as you can see over there, are more elegant. And you have some other that are more friendlier, let's say, to the appearance. A suggestion that I have for you to combine fonts, but of course, this can be depending on whatever it is that you need. Usually the easiest and the most impactful graphic designs changes you can make is by diversifying your fonts. So you can combine some of these, but you need to be careful on how you combine them. Usually there's a 3-font rule that you can use: one font for titles, one for headings, and then another one for the content that you have inside your materials. Using more than that can be a little bit chaotic, but this is my suggestion to you. And the important thing is that you use and that you choose fonts that are easy to read, okay? That the eye can find it simple to read and to identify. Okay. Well, a big no, stretching fonts. This is something that comes, I think, from word art when we used to move and stretch. So I suggest that you can check some of those places online. You can download sites. You can download the fonts, sorry, from those sites. And there's no need for you to stretch. Use fonts as they are, as they were designed by the designers. Well, now we're gonna talk a little bit what color means and what it can transmit. The psychological impact of color, just the same as with fonts, color can transmit and add character and emotion to your content. The use of color can take you even further. So there's a reason why teachers, we don't correct with red, for example. It's because it can trigger emotions. So we tend to go for colors that are more maybe purple or green or blue. And the same as with fonts, as I told you before. For example, think of Coke. Yes, when it comes to marketing, red can transmit power, energy, and excitement. It's a great color when you're using when you're doing branding for food or for drinks. And when, on the other hand, as we talked about before about Apple, usually white transmits pureness, cleanliness, minimalism, perfection. So there's a reason why they choose the colors that they choose in brands. So I guess that it's important that we teachers are aware of that. My suggestion to you is that you have a color palette. It's not that you need to create one yourself. There are different ways in which you can combine colors. Yes, as you can see, you can have different kinds of colors. But my suggestion is that you have 3 colors, one as a primary color, then you have a secondary color, and then the third if you want to point something out. But it's important that, again, with the same as with fonts, that you use not more than 3 colors, because if not, it can be a little bit confusing for students. Selecting colors, yes, can be an art form, but the good news that I have for you, I don't know if you know it, Adobe has a color palette, which I'll share with you. It's actually a wheel of color. So in addition to, my suggestion to you is that in addition to thinking about the psychology of color, that you choose colors that combine or complement each other some way. So this is a great tool that you can use. And something important that I have seen teachers have designs in which the color can be a little bit confusing for the eye. This is called color discord, and color is a powerful tool, but it can be used for evil. So make sure that you choose colors that complement each other, so that, for example, in this case, you can see the pink letters against the green background. It's kind of like they vibrate. Well, it's because the pink is fighting the green for the viewer's attention, which of course can be confusing for a person to read. And for example, you can go for colors that complement each other, such as yellow and purple, so that you can use, as we talked about before, a light color with a dark background, so that you can transmit. Yes, completely true, Tavita. I also like using colors, and especially, I mean, on the whiteboard as well. I have like 7, 8 kinds of markers, different colors. Yes, I find it really useful, especially, of course, for visual students. Yes, that's great. So, and here some suggestions that have already been thought by professionals, and maybe you can get some inspirations. But use colors that have a similar tone. Make sure that your colors sit opposite from each other on the spectrum, and choose colors that are either warm or cool, so that you can have a more clear design. And something else that I wanted to tell you about was the use of backgrounds. Backgrounds shouldn't be too distracting, which is something that I have seen that it's something that sometimes we don't pay enough attention to. The background should help, should not be able to fight for whatever attention you have on the materials on the slides. So they should be able to give a frame to your design and make whatever you have there more beautiful. So if it doesn't make it beautiful, then don't use it. For example, here, the background, it's beautiful, but you cannot read well whatever is that you have here, in this case, a question. So I go for an option in which the background is a bit less, I mean, it's not so relevant when it comes to the whatever you have in your slides. So as today we talked about order backway, so don't cramp space. Make sure that your designs have space to breathe. As you can see here, we have pictures. The background is super distracting. Everything is like cramped together. So try to avoid doing things like that. Something that I think that it's great that you should take explore are the use of vectors in order to include in your materials. Vectors are points, lines, and curves that they can make shapes. And the great thing about them is that no matter how much you zoom them, they will be able to remain smooth and it will be clear. For example, vectors can be seen as something such as this. Okay, you can see the background over there. That means that it doesn't have a background, as you can see here, so that you can put the vectors on top of a background. I have used a very light gray background in my presentation. So as you can see, it's very easy to see the images. And I suggest that you use Pixabay. They have vector, and they have over here, you can see the vector graphics that they have, and it's free. It's a royalty-free source, which is great. And the use of grid and frames, and in here what we're talking about, it's alignment. So whenever we have images or different elements, it's important that we use frames to make our design look more professional and neat. It will transmit the same, the images will transmit the same, but to me at least, the one on the right gives me more peace of mind somehow. The power of images. Images, graphics, diagrams, and illustrations are a great way to help our students visualize meaning and understand meanings of the content that we have. The truth is that if you select a perfect image can transmit and provide more meaning to the content than 1,000 words. So I always really enjoy How many, I'm just seeing your question, Stefania, how many colors would be too many colors? Yes, Stefania, I would guess that more than 5, it would be too much. I would go for 2 or 3 colors, the same as with fonts. That would be my suggestion. And as we were talking about images, selecting good quality images can be super important. Here you have 3 places in which you can get some great pictures: Pexels, Pixabay, and Unsplash. Royalty-free pictures, which is super important that we use royalty-free materials, and beautiful pictures taken by professionals. So it's great that you are able to use them. And I wanted to show you what you should never ever do. It's taking pictures that have these watermarks, for example, or pictures in which you cannot see whatever it is that you have on them. Sometimes teachers, we stretch them or make them small or transform. So go for the previous sites that I have mentioned in order to use great pictures. And I wanted to share with you some resources that I have found and that I have used for a long time. The first one is Canva. Canva, it's great for creating any kind of design. You can replicate, you can use pictures. Over here for education, you can create worksheets, certificate for your students, lesson plans. I mean, the options are endless. For example, these are some of the things that you can do in Canva. And please use things as they are. Do not change anything. These were created by professional designers. So trust me that these ones as they are, they look great. Don't change fonts. There's no need or colors. Author is another place which is very similar to Canva. Again, it's free. I'm not sure that I mentioned that when I talked about Canva. And you can find some great designs as well that have already been made. So in our case, we just need to edit some of the things when it comes to content, and you will be having some great designs. Slides Carnival, which I really, really enjoy. It's a place in which you have templates for slides. And again, there's no need for you to alter anything. They have some great designs. And I mean, there are many designs over there. Another one that I have, a dear colleague of me, which is here, Paula, she shared with me, Slides Mania. And again, this is a great place for you to use some slides. And as you can see, for example, here you have like a weekly planner that you can use with children. So as you can see, designs are also for all ages. And yes, it's a great one. I really like it. This one I wasn't familiar with. And I wanted to tell you that I am a fan of Google Slides. The way I see it, they are super easy to work with. It's great if you want to collaborate with somebody. You can never ever lose your work because they work online. You can access anywhere and from any device, but yes, you need internet access, which I know that for some of us, it can be not so easy. It's super intuitive, so you can find your way around when it comes to moving pictures or creating some things. They have some great composition and editorial practical functionalities, which is great for you to be able to organize materials, and it's free. So, and for the ones who use PowerPoint, what you can do sometimes is designing PowerPoint if you don't have access, and then you can upload them to Google Slides and then present using Google Slides. So I wanted to share with you some samples, and I wanted to see if you have any suggestions, okay? So for example, here I have one. I want to hear from you on the chat. Do you have any suggestions? Or after everything that we have talked about, is there something that calls your attention, maybe? What can you tell me about the colors, about the fonts, about margins? Is there something that calls your attention? No, nothing. You love them. Too many fonts. Yes. Exactly. Balance. Oh, great, guys. Colors. The combination of colors is not the best. Yes. So my suggestion to you would be to have something more like this. Colors are not well chosen. Yes. A drawing is missing. Completely true. A picture, something that can help transmit the message. Here I have another one. What can you tell me about this one? Too much going on. Yes, definitely. And this is what I told you today about the horror vacui that teachers suffer. There's a lot of information together put in one place, too many colors. Yes, sure. And I have this suggestion with some little changes. At least it doesn't look too confusing. Think of our students. This is another one that I have for you. What can you tell me about? Yes, I like the colors as well. Too many words. This is boring. So true, and it's simple. It's too simple. So there are no colors, no margins. I mean, they are not taken into account. So my suggestion would be something simple. Yes, this would be my suggestion. I have a couple more. What can you tell me about this one? What can you tell me about the colors, about the contrast of the colors here? Yes. Yes, use of red for me when it comes to teaching materials, I would say that it's a no, but I'll leave that one to you. So in here, the color contrast is a little bit confusing. The blue and the red, it's something such as a no, and the same with orange and blue. You need to be careful with that. Those are opposite, so I would go for something that it's more like this. At least that it can transmit a bit more peace. I don't like the colors, no, me neither. I didn't like it. Okay. And the last one, what can you tell me about this one? What about the fonts, the colors, the visuals? Again, a boring one. No visuals. Also boring. Yeah, so my suggestion would be balance. Also, it's like it's on the left. Like we'll go for something more like this. So thank you so much for sharing your views. And I wanted to share some real samples, and these are some materials that I have designed and that I wanted to share with you. It's not that these are amazing or extraordinary or anything. It's just that they kind of like respect everything that we have talked about. For example, here you have one, here you have another one with the pictures and the font that is a little bit more conducive to learning, probably for teens or children. This is a bit more techy. Yes, since we're talking about gadgets, but again, you can see that I have tried to respect margins and try to combine colors. This is more for teenagers with the picture, the speech bubble over there. Here, since we're talking about free time activities, I went for orange, since it's a color that transmits energy and power, and the combination of the two different types of fonts. The title is one, and then the questions are in one, and then the useful expressions are used in another one. Something simple, such as a roundtable discussion with the questions and then the useful expressions. But I try to include a picture, a vector over there to help students see that they need to talk with each other. Here's something about their routines. As you can see, pictures, they have been placed in, they are aligned. And these are a couple that I have used from Canva. These are some templates, and here it's just adding a quote, and this looks beautiful. Of course, this is not something that I made from scratch. This is another one. This is Canva as well. I have made some changes. But the picture, I think that it can transmit a lot. This is another one in which you can have a video, and as you can see, the background, it's the video, it's like in the center of attention of the background, and then the questions on the other side. So people, I just want to recap, and what you should be able to do is have elements aligned. You should be able to have text that is legible. If you have contrast, that it's enough, and if elements have room to breathe, then you will be able to have a great design, because it doesn't take a professional to create a professional looking design. That's the message that I want to transmit, because we're all teachers, so we are not designers, but I hope that with these tips you will be able to create better and more professional designs. I want to read you on the chat to see if you have which was the tip that you found the most relevant or useful. I hope that many, but at least I would like you to share one. I'll give you a few minutes to do that. This is on a personal note. I really like this abstract series from Netflix. If you enjoy design, it's a great one. And so thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'm open to be able to answer your questions. And also if you would like to share any tips from the presentation that you found useful, I'm all ears. My pleasure.
Thank you very much, Priscilla.
Welcome.
I had a question. Like, do you think, or do you say that like the templates that come with PowerPoint or that come with Google Slides, are they useful?
Yes, they are. For example, Google Slides, they have a few. They are very simple, right? But yes, I mean, of course, I think that sometimes you need to choose the right template, because sometimes it can be too much for whatever you want to transmit or whatever you want to do. So I think that you need to be careful. But yes, there are some great templates.
And for example, in PowerPoint, there are some people that tend to use a lot of animations, like to move the title, to move the picture.
I think that the same as with colors and fonts, you shouldn't abuse. Sometimes teachers we like using GIFs because they are funny, and it's great, but I think that you should not abuse them. And the same with animations. If you have all the time elements coming and going from your slides, I think that it can be confusing for students. Oh, really? That's great, Rosa. So I guess that many of the things that I mentioned aren't new to you or all of the things. So it's great to have you. No, Bitmoji, no. Bitmoji? Bitmoji. No, in your designs I haven't. Is it a tool, Susan, or what do you do?
I think that creates like a tiny version of cartoon, like cartoony version of yourself.
Okay, that would be great. That would be a great add-on to slides, I guess, to visual designs. So if you have any questions, I'm open to answer your questions. And I wanted to share with you some of the resources. You have this on the handout that you have over there that Rachel has put. And I have put together the resources that we have mentioned: fonts, templates, graphic design platforms for you to get some inspiration, royalty-free pictures, the color wheel. And if you want to get some inspiration, Pinterest, of course, but also Behance. It's something that graphic designers use. We can get some ideas from them as well.
Yesterday, a teacher shared with us Pick to Chart, and it's specifically for infographics, and they have
that's right.
templates.
Yes. So Canva has infographics. You can create them on Canva as well. But sure, there are so many great places and sites actually nowadays that it's great to be able to have this as input, because it doesn't mean that we have to create everything from scratch. We can use what has already been created by a person that knows about this.
Yeah, now that I've been with all this event, I've been looking a lot of this.
Yeah. Thank you, Veronica, for your message. I'm glad that you found this refreshing. And I think that it can be a nice add-on for us, for teachers, for the materials that we are designing nowadays. And hopefully you got many tips and useful tips that you can use to make your designs look better and more attractive and appealing to your students.
True.
Well, I don't know if you don't have any questions. I really want to thank you all for being here. It was great to be able to share a Saturday afternoon with you guys. And thank you so much for watching. And I hope that you can implement some of these ideas in your classes soon. Well, hello, Mariluz. Great to have you.
Thank you, Lucia. Again, even
my
if
pleasure.
Share and stuff like that, just write it.
Yes, I'm here. I'm reading. Of course, my pleasure. I'm glad that you found some useful ideas.
Like, where do you usually get your fonts from? Or you just use the ones that are pre-loaded?
I use a lot of Google Slides, so from Google directly, fonts.google.com. I get them from there, and it's super easy to import them into your materials. But I try to, I mean, I have a few that I am comfortable with using, so most of the times I go for the same kind of fonts, just
Okay.
not to change so much. But yes,
Makes sense.
but over there you can have the other two, dafont.com and 1001 free fonts. Those are great places too. So,
Yeah.
and you can download them and import them and put them in your computer,
True.
which is great.
She was
Of
not.
course.
I
Thank
used
you so much, everybody, for being here.
So what do you usually do as your job? Like when are you working online right now?
Yes, we are teaching online classes, some of them online and some of them face-to-face. I'm actually teaching the Access program. I teach teenagers online, which is great.
Yeah.
I love them. It has been a challenge, but I have tried. I mean, I enjoy working with teenagers because I can explore other things that usually adults are not so fond of. So thank you, Rosario, very much. So, and yes, and I design a lot of materials. I design paper materials and online materials when it comes to slides or worksheets. So that's why this is a topic that I enjoy talking about, since I actually get to do things quite often.
That's cool because I think it also depends. I mean, the fonts and the colors are also going to depend on who
Yes,
you're teaching to, right?
yes.
The pictures.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Yes, and I think in my case, it's kind of like I have it in me. My background in architecture, it's something that has given me a lot of experience, and I think that that's something that you develop through years and time, but also that you need to teach your eye and teach it how to find things and how to make it look nice, because what can be nice for me may not be nice to another person. But I think that there are some basic elements that we cannot agree that make design look, any kind of design, look attractive and appealing.
I think for me, the biggest challenge has been teaching children because they do need. I think they need more visuals than probably adults.
Yes,
And how to read.
I don't teach children. I teach teenagers,
Yeah.
and yes, I completely yes, teens, adults as well. But I think that teens require a lot of visuals, and I think that we should be able to incorporate videos and pictures whenever possible. So it's important that we can get some great materials for them and appealing and pictures that can trigger discussion. It's not so easy to choose those sometimes, but I think that with the ones that I have shared with you, Pexels and Splash and Pixabay, they have some great pictures, and they are taken by professionals, so that's why I think the pictures can be useful. So.
I saw like the one that you put as a background, a picture as a background about do you like sour
Yes.
food or something like that. I think probably it's better when you have sections for your presentations, and that's like a title slide or something like that. Like, because
Yes.
a lot of people use like pictures as backgrounds, but in every slide, like buildings or houses. Or,
I think that it's important to keep an order. I mean, if you're gonna be using a background, try to use the same background in all your slides, because if not, it can be confusing and it's too much information, right? So I would go for, I'm fond of plain or something not very distracting, or unless I really want to make an impact and the background is everything, not so much the text or whatever I have inside the presentation. But And there are some backgrounds that can work because they can transmit a message, which is something that matters. If they have a meaning, if they are meaningful. Of course, Rosario, my pleasure.
The presentation that you have shared with us today, where did you do it, in Canva?
No, Google Slides.
Google Slides. And you have like that cool double underline and stuff like that.
Yes, but those are draw by hand. Those I made myself. Of course, I chose my color palette. I have 3 or 4 colors that I usually use in this presentation. But yes, I use, as you can see, I use one font for titles and then another font for text and all the text that I included on the presentation. I played around a little bit with bold fonts and not so much. So depending on the importance of the message that I wanted to share, for example, in this one, I played a little bit more around with colors and fonts, but I think that's part of the message. Okay. So, thank you so much for joining, for staying on a Saturday afternoon, as I said a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
And you will be able to find the presentation recorded if you want to go back and check. And of course, please download the handout.
Yep.
You will have some useful information there as well.
Very. I think it's part of our presentation that we don't actually. We kind of do it automatically, but it's good to like look into it and try to assess ourselves. So completely. Thank you very much, Lucy, again for
my pleasure.
Everyone,
it was great to be here.
Watching us. So the break is coming. We are going to go into a break, and then Keto, the last expo, and that will be the end of this whole event, which has been very, very cool.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the event, everybody. And thank you so much, Stefania, for being here with me.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
I'll see you. Bye-bye.